guys, so it's another one of these angled videos. But anyway, the most important thing is just to be able to hear me. And I do apologize for other noises because this is a house with a family and people coming and going. So, you know, I love it. I love open door houses. Anyway, I'm going to situate and we should be ready to go. So this is Clarice Bean Spells Trouble by Lauren Child. We are on chapter 11. So I feel like I haven't read this in so long, but finishing it before September. So trying to finish it, we'll finish it, trust me. Anyway, just continue watching. So, 'cause I saw a lot of people started watching this one, so that's good. If you guys have recommendations and you're gonna watch them, even if it's just you, please tell me, because I'd love to. And if you guys have any tips on how to do this better, I'm totally open to it. Don't be offended if I don't use it, but I'm totally open to feedback. And I am kind of whispering because it's just kind of study time right now. So anyway, chapter 11, page 113. Sometimes there are things that people will never know you know. On Monday, Carl Renberry won't even look at me, let alone say hello. It makes me quite down in the dumps, so I'm very pleased we are having a Mr. Washington class. Mr. Washington has asked everyone to do a picture of the inside of their head. He doesn't mean the actual inside of your head, how it would look with all the brains and wiggly bits and everything. He means all the whirling thoughts and information. How does it feel sometimes when you are fed up or enraged or chirpy or utterly bored? Draw that. It's a really good thing to draw because there's no right, wrong, or right. Mr. Washington says there hardly ever is an utterly wrong or utterly right, especially when it comes to saying what is going on inside your head, your own head. He says sometimes a mistake is what shows you how to do something. So how can you say your mistake was wrong? That was really good. I'll say it again. Sometimes a mistake is what shows you how to do something. So how can you say your mistake was wrong? Of course he is right. How can a mistake be a mistake? By mistake, when I was making fudge one time, I overbubbled it and it got too hot, and when I tried to eat it, it turned into toffee. And I wouldn't have known this could happen if I hadn't made a mistake with the bubbling. We are learning things all the time. That's what Mr. Washington says. I know what he means. I am nonstop learning. I am learning things just walking down the street, and I'm also learning things when I am asleep because things float in and out of my head. I'm even learning things when I'm reading Ruby Redford under the desk in Mrs. Wilburton's class. Mr. Washington says it's good to be able to read and write. It helps us communicate. And where would we be without numbers? You can always rely on a calculator to do your numbers. I have a hole in these pants. Anyway, I just felt it. Okay. It's true. Because you wouldn't know what age you were without numbers. And you do need to be able to add things up in your head, because what if your calculator broke? Wait, I need to get my glasses. Can't see it very well, so. Mr. Washington says, but there are other things just as important, and many of these we learn by accident. I have found out a lot of things by accident, and I'm learning all the time. One thing I have learned in Mr. Washington's class is the stars are always there, but we only see them in the dark. One thing I have discovered by accident is that you can get sunburned even on a cloudy day. Yes. Anyone else learn that out? Find that out? I say to Mr. Washington, but Mr. Washington, I definitely want to be able to communicate. But spelling doesn't always help. There are words like spell and spell, and they look the same, but they don't mean the same. But how would you know? I mean, it's confusing. One means to do magic, and one means to put letters in the right order. Then there's words like bear and bear. One sort of bear is an animal covered in fur, and the other sort of bear means being covered in nothing. and they sound the same, but they are spelled differently. And what's the point of that? Words shouldn't sound the same if they aren't spelled the same. That's like kind of deep. My mind is like, what? Mr. Washington says, CB, that's a very good point. I know it can be very complicated and it's not easy, but maybe the thing is to think of spelling like some sort of code with lots of secret rules. The trick is to crack it and find ways of remembering the rules. I like this teacher. Take the word piece. How about piece of pie? All you have to do is remember that pie is in the word piece. And then how about hear? As in listening, it is just ear with an H in front of it. And if you can remember that you need to use your ear to hear, you will never forget how to spell that kind of hear. And what about necessary? Carl, I see you've got a shirt on and it's got one collar. That's one C and two sleeves. That's two S's. And so if you think about your shirt and oh my gosh, I'm like really messing up today. And so if you think about your shirt and you will always know how to spell necessary. This is very useful information, so I write it into my Ruby notebook and draw a picture of a pie, an ear, collar, and two sleeves. Thinking of spelling as a code makes me think of Ruby. She knows loads of codes. I wonder how she ever learned them all. I am only trying to learn one, which is English, and I am finding it utterly tricky. If I was the one who invented spelling, I would have done a much better job. For instance, why isn't C spelled C? Like, just the letter C. On Tuesday, Mr. Washington is trying to help us with the spelling bee, and he writes up this sentence on the board. It says, 8 rhubarb eating rhinoceroses danced while excitedly reciting rhymes. Then he says, some of these words are spelled correctly and some are not. Some of them have silent letters in them and some of them don't. Can anyone come and correct the spelling in this sentence for me? That's why I was like, this doesn't look great. Lots of people put up their hands, but Mr. Washington picks Carl Ranberry. I am surprised that Carl wants to do this. He normally is not one for putting up his hand, even if he does know the answer. But he is really good at spelling, and he makes the sentence look like 8 rhubarb eating rhinoceros danced while excitedly reciting rhymes. Let's see, there's the 2. There's the first one, and then here's the correct. Mr. Washington says, nice work, Carl. In fact, very nearly perfect. You only missed one. Can anyone spot the other mistake? I put up my hand to tell Mr. Washington that I know about rhinoceros. I know it has a secret H in it. It's one word I know because of staring at my rhinoceros poster every night, and even though Carl is a really good speller, I know about the H and he doesn't. And I'm a bit worried to say it. I know that Carl doesn't like me anymore, but I really want people to know that rhinoceros is a word I can spell. Mr. Washington finally spots me and says, yes, CB, can you tell us what Carl has missed? And I am just about to say the answer when Mrs. Skipper, the janitor, pops his head around the door and says, I would just like everyone to know that starting tomorrow, the back playground will not be in use because we will have builders in mending the roof. Therefore, it is out of bounds. Please make sure you do not leave any bikes in the bike shed because you will not be able to get them for several weeks. Then he goes, and then the bell rings, and then everyone goes, and I'm not able to say my one thing that I know about spelling. That'd be really sad, honestly. Anyway, I know she'll figure it out, but anyway, that is the end of chapter 11. I will see you guys for chapter 12. It starts on page 121. Again, this is Clarice Bean Spells Trouble by Lauren Child, and I am so glad that you guys joined me for this book. So tell you guys, like, anyone who you think would be interested in just listening to audiobooks, and bring them here. And anyway, I'm hoping to release more and more books, and I'll see you guys next time. So keep enjoying the world that books provide. Keep enjoying the worlds that books create and provide. So I'll see you guys next time. Okay?